The gut and the brain aren't just connected, they are the same tissue. Hi, I'm Dr. Erika Way with Beyond Wellness. I'm here today to talk about gut health. We're using September to really bring the concept or the conversation to the table. And maybe it's because it's Virgo season and Virgo rules the gut, or maybe it's because we're seeing more of it in the clinic as children go back to school and parents have more time to focus on their own health. But nonetheless, we're seeing it, and there's some important things I wanted to share with you. So oftentimes, as a chiropractor who specializes in functional medicine and applied kinesiology, we do muscle testing. And that has really been impactful for, let's call it 75% of my patients. But when I get people who come in and they're coming because they've been through all of that and nothing's worked, we have other solutions. We have functional testing. One of the tests that we run is called GFI Effects from Genova Diagnostics. This test is brilliant, and what it allows a practitioner to do is test for whether or not you have a decent balance of commensal bacteria, whether or not you have pathogenic bacteria, yeast infection, parasites. It can also look to see if you have essential fatty acids that would feed good bacteria. It allows us to look at digestive enzyme balance, inflammation, and it allows us to look at something that is specifically you. I have a good story. So I have a patient I've been working with for a while, and we have incrementally made improvements in her gas and bloating, which is a primary symptom. She also has struggled with anxiety for a lot of her life. So at a certain point, as a doctor, I'm like, you know what? We're gonna have to take a deeper dive. We've wanted to just try different things and they've incrementally helped, but I think we're at the crossroads right now where if we're not doing something to make a bigger impact, then I feel like we're gonna feel stuck, and I don't want you to feel stuck. So we ended up ordering this test and some other tests from Australia, and we found that she did not have gut inflammation. That's fantastic. She did not have any infection. We had gotten those, so what we had been doing was working, but she had two bacteria that they could not even detect on the testing. So we treated her with those two bacteria. She reported back that after 3 days that she had this like calm come over the body. Her anxiety decreased, her energy increased. And so what was so impactful, first of all, was this dear young woman was finally able to find some relief and bloating diminished. So amazing, right? But she had struggled with the emotional piece. And to be able to see in 3 days that changing the gut microbiome impacted the emotional health was so phenomenal. Gut and brain health together is such an exciting topic because one impacts the other directly, and the more we know about it, the more we can treat it and impact both at the same time. So there is a Dr. Datis Karazian, who has been a phenomenal researcher and developer of supplements for Apex Energetics, but also has tremendously helped functional medicine practitioners all over the world from his teachings. And here's what he taught us. By doing a dissection, and he showed us this, that when he took out all of the organs from the body of a cadaver, a human, and left in the gut and the brain, what we saw was the vagus nerve, which is the 10th cranial nerve, comes out right about here. It is called the wanderer. It regulates the autonomic nervous system of our body, right? So it's this nervous system we don't have control over. And what we saw when he did that was that the vagus nerve filled the entire back cavity of the human body. So what he said is that the gut and the brain aren't just connected, they are the same tissue. So if we have an infection or inflammation, anything causing inflammation in the gut, it can cause inflammation in the brain. And if we are constantly trying to treat the brain for inflammation with something like turmeric or fish oil, all really good strategies, and we haven't treated the actual problem, then we're going to think that supplements don't work or functional medicine is just a bunch of hooey. But what we're learning more and more is that we have to treat both to treat either one of them. But one of the newest introductions to the clinic is hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Now, hyperbaric oxygen therapy is oxygen under pressure. So it literally forces oxygen inside the tissue. What people don't realize is that our hemoglobin is 97 to 99 to 100% saturated with atmospheric oxygen. If not, we'd be blues, kind of like the people in Avatar, right? So, but we're not. We are saturated. So when we go to an oxygen bar, we're maybe getting that 3% of the hemoglobin filled if we don't have that. What people don't realize about hyperbaric oxygen is that when we saturate the tissue with oxygen, it's like filling up the storage reserves. It's like having an extra gas tank so that so your body can use that, can pull that oxygen out of the tissue and use it for mitochondrial or ATP cellular energy production. It's like vitamin oxygen, vitamin O. That's one of the things that we are finding is impactful for pathogenic bacteria in the gut, because 90% of that bacteria doesn't like oxygen. And you know what? We got oxygen. There's other ways that we can impact emotional health in the gut, and we can do that using quantum neural reset therapy. But that's a little bit different mechanism. So in quantum neural reset therapy, which is based on German New Medicine, the gut is associated with shame. So let's kind of turn this around a little bit. If we were going to look at someone from an emotional perspective who also had gut issues, then if we were to deal with some of the shame components or any other belief system that they had in their unconscious, which is 88% of the brain, conscious is only 12%, we might be able to affect how someone takes care of themselves. So for example, if I were to give someone a regimen that tested appropriately for them, but they weren't able to maintain that regimen because they didn't have the belief that they were worthy of good health, that maybe they didn't feel like they were good enough, that can change how a person's health ultimately ends up. And if we don't deal with the unconscious belief systems around taking care of yourself, it almost doesn't matter what the gut balance is if you can't maintain it through healthy eating. So there's this, my symbols are always the infinity sign, because it's just this flow, it's this oneness. One thing flows into the other. So we want to treat all of the impact zones, let's call them impact zones, that we can. So we deal with the physical body, the microbiome, we do the testing or muscle testing, we do the supplements or eliminating foods or killing off a pathogen that might be causing dysfunction. But we also look at the emotional. What is it that impacts your ability to actually take positive action steps towards your health? That can also be a little Virgo energy if you think about it. The other thing that I love to do, because it isn't done everywhere, and I think it's a missing piece of the puzzle, is the energetic piece. What is it in your ancestry or other lifetimes that might still be impacting you now? Some people might say, I don't believe in it. You don't have to. We won't judge you here. But here's what I will tell you, is that when we do treat people from that perspective, it's a game changer. When we pass over a past lifetime where you dealt with a lot of shame or you caused a lot of shame for people, it does go both ways. Or if there's an ancestral pattern, we call that a miasm. We can actually treat that with QNRT, and then clearing the ancestors that maybe have dealt with shameful situations. And you can maybe even think back. I mean, if you're hearing me right now, you might think about how your mother's family might have had something to do with that, or father's family. It's a very real, impactful strategy that many people don't actually put together with physical health. But I do that here because I know a couple of things, and one of them is that you were born perfect. You were not born with the gut issues, the depression, the anxiety. So where there's a will, there is a way. And I'm here, Dr. Erika Way at Beyond Wellness, to help you figure out what your ideal healing strategies are.